Third Degree. My name is Sam White. Tonight, election 2012, it's voting night. Already receiving some results. At this point, Vermont has been called for President Barack Obama. Indiana has been called for Governor Mitt Romney. And Kentucky has been called for Governor Mitt Romney. And we've actually just received word that West Virginia has also been called for Mitt Romney, bringing Mitt Romney's electoral vote total to 24 and President Barack Obama's total to 3 electoral votes. So we have a 24-3 race right now. I'm joined here by Amanda Shapiro and Carolyn Thornton. They will be bringing us expert analysis and coverage throughout the night. We will be here for the next hour with you, covering all the polls as they close, as well as some analysis about the race, a very, very tight race. Again, CNN has now announced that they project Mitt Romney to win West Virginia. That is the new breaking news at this point. So, guys, thanks for being on the program with us. By the way, for you at home, we do have a tracker at the bottom here, which will be tracking the electoral votes. Obviously, the West Virginia vote has not gone up on our tracker yet, but it will throughout the night, and that will keep you updated, as will we on camera. So let's begin, guys, by talking about some of the keys. This election is going to be very close as far as the popular vote goes. Nationally, we've seen that in many, many polls, that the national vote will be close, but it all comes down to the Electoral College. So let's talk about two races that we're watching very closely tonight, Virginia and Ohio. Let's talk about Ohio first. Amanda, what do you have for us?
Okay, well, not too much, only because polls in Ohio just closed, and I've just received a report from MSNBC.com that polls are delayed at the moment.
Okay.
However,
Any reason why at this point?
Nothing yet. I'm thinking there's been some problems concerning voter suppression, and also with a couple of, I think they were called robocalls, where people on the Romney campaign were calling Democratic voters, telling them that the date and the location of where they were supposed to vote has changed. So they could be working that out, and still more to come.
So voter suppression, we are seeing some voter suppression in Ohio.
Yes.
This is something that Democrats were worried about, were actively fighting against. It sounds like it's still going on. I know that both the Obama and Romney camps do have lawyers at the ready. And if this were to come down to a close race in Ohio, where we're talking about a couple hundred votes, we could see a similar legal battle to what we saw in Florida.
Right, and we don't want that to happen again. They also have to deal with the provisional votes that they'll do, after the election to see if they'll count or not.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting because, like you said, we don't want what to happen in Florida, like what happened.
Right. And just to update our viewers on Ohio, CNN is reporting that they did get their hands on an internal Romney camp poll that has Romney down by 5 in Ohio. Now, the Romney camp has been upbeat about Ohio. Romney campaigned in Ohio today, Ohio and Pennsylvania. But the internal poll that CNN got their hands on does have Romney down by 5 points to President Barack Obama in Ohio. So that's an interesting development as well, as far as Ohio goes.
We're watching it closely.
Yeah. Let's talk now, switch our focus over to Virginia, another battleground state. Virginia we just started receiving some numbers in. So what can you tell us, Carolyn?
The polls closed about 34 minutes ago in Virginia, and so far both of the Republican candidates have taken a lead, Mitt Romney in the presidential race and George Allen in the Senate race. And there was some troubles earlier today with voting machines malfunctioning and registering votes for Barack Obama for Mitt Romney. They eventually sorted it out, but there was some tension over that from both camps. Right now, with 2% of the vote in, we have Mitt Romney with a 58% over Barack Obama's 40%. So far, it's looking like it could go for Mitt Romney, but it's anyone's game at this point.
And how many votes do we have counted about at this point in Virginia?
About 80,000.
Okay. Which is, as far as my numbers go, 2% of precincts. So very preliminary at this point as far as numbers go. CNN did release an exit poll showing a 49-49 tie in Virginia. Could this be the closest of the battleground states this year?
This could definitely be one of the closest battleground states this year, especially because of CNN exit poll and also because Virginia is usually split in the middle.
Do you guys think it's worrisome? We just announced that Indiana was called for Mitt Romney very early on, called almost as soon as polls closed there. Barack Obama carried Indiana in 2008. Is this worrisome, do you think, for the Obama camp?
I mean, it's a little. I guess obviously they're worried because they did get it in 2008. However, I think that it's still early and hopefully, well, not hopefully, just I don't even know. It's a tough call. It's very early to tell right now, and I think because we're only getting in a couple percent of votes.
Yeah, there's 13% in Indiana.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know if that's going to be indicative of the entire state. But.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I mean, generally they did call it. So, and generally they do not. I mean, the only time I've ever seen a time where network news has called it and had to reverse it was Florida in 2000. And Indiana was expected to go Romney from the beginning. So, Carolyn, do you think it's an issue for the Obama camp?
I don't think it's going to be so much of an issue for the Obama camp, but it might. It is a little worrisome since it went for him last election. But I'm more looking at the southern states, which are all really you would expect them to go Republican, but they're all very, very Romney leaning right now, with 70, 75, and 51% for Georgia, South, and North Carolina, respectively.
Now, at this point, going into this election, Obama was leading by slim margins, but still margins in many of these battleground states: Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa, Colorado, Nevada, and Virginia. And New Hampshire. All of them had him leading by margins ranging from 4 to down to 0.5 or so in a lot of these states. So there, it does. This was a good time for the Obama camp coming in, but again, it's all going to come down to turnout, because that's assuming that these people that are polled turn out. We're not sure that necessarily will be the case.
And I think it's just looking at it in our own campus right now. I know there are people who are, I can't decide. I'm not going to vote. I don't have time. I'm not going to vote. I think voter turnout is key, and there are a lot of undecided voters out there. And it's the independent vote that I know both campaigns are really banking on.
Just receiving breaking news. NBC News has called Mitt Romney the winner in South Carolina. Once again, that is NBC News calling Mitt Romney the winner in the state of South Carolina. We still do not have, NBC is the only one that I can see at this point calling it.
Yeah, especially because the votes right now that are in are 24-75 Romney, Obama.
Yeah, interestingly enough, yes, South Carolina right now, only, again, 1% of the precincts in, but right now, in that one precinct, it must be an urban precinct. We do have Obama up 75% to 24%. However, again, NBC News has called South Carolina for Mitt Romney, which further extends that electoral vote lead. However, Florida, we do have an update on Florida. Florida, 26% of precincts are already in Florida. Barack Obama is holding on to a lead in Florida, a slim lead, 51% to 48% in Florida, with over a quarter of precincts reporting. Barack Obama does have an early lead. Now, Mitt Romney, this is one of the few swing states that he led in, was Florida. Do we think this lead holds up for Barack Obama?
I'm not sure if it's going to hold up, because right now the only parts of Florida that have really gone Obama are the major urban centers, and there's still so much of Florida's vote left. Because he got Orlando, Miami, and Tampa, and with only Jacksonville is the only urban center going to Romney. So the rest of the state is really fair game at this point.
Okay. Amanda, what do you think?
I guess I would have to agree, but I don't know. It is very close. So I think that there is a possibility that he could get it because I know that there are a lot of the senior citizens. I think it's going to play a huge factor into deciding everything with
the
Social
elderly
Security.
vote, certainly, and they tend to sway towards Mitt Romney. New Hampshire, we've just started getting numbers in there. Only 1% of precincts reporting very, very early on. Actually, at this point, the precinct we've gotten in, it only contains about 40 votes. So very, very early. But at this point, Barack Obama leads. Governor Mitt Romney, 65% to 33%. that is in New Hampshire, another battleground state. Again, right now, Barack Obama leads, but very, very early on. And at this point, Mitt Romney has 33 electoral votes to President Barack Obama's 3 electoral votes. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a lot more to talk about, a lot more swing states to talk about. Wisconsin is in the mix, which is Paul Ryan's home state. Stick around with the Third Degree here on GSTV. We're going to bring you all the up-to-date election coverage and numbers. Stick right around. Thank you, guys. Covering right now the 2012 presidential election. As you can see, we've got our counter right at the bottom of the screen there. Mitt Romney leads at this point Barack Obama, 33 electoral votes to 3 electoral votes. Mitt Romney has been declared the winner in Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, and South Carolina, while Barack Obama has received the victory in Vermont. At this point, obviously, looks like a large lead for Governor Romney, but again, so far, all these states have been expected states.
Right.
They've been states that we expected to go the direction that they went. Indiana did flip over, but we knew that was going to happen as well. So at this point, no election surprises for us. But Amanda, you had reported that Ohio
Yes.
was delayed. Do you have an update on that?
I have a couple updates. It looks like there are about 2 districts that are in. They're red at the moment, so it looks like they're leaning for Romney. We only got a couple thousand votes in, right now it's 61% Romney, 37% Obama.
What percent of people are reporting at this point?
Right now we've got about
I've got here 1% of precincts
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah,
so
1%.
very
Small.
very preliminarily.
However, there are a lot of exit polls just concerning more like voter age, voter gender, and it's saying that it seems that the highest turnout for Democrats, voting age seems to be 25 to 29, and the highest for Republicans was split between 40 to 49 and the 65 and older,
Okay.
which I think is interesting. And also that there seemed to be a large amount of women voting Democrat, which is obviously expected, but I mean, I guess it's good to see that.
What are the numbers split between women and men? What are the numbers we're saying?
Let's see. So we have women Democrats are 55%, male Democrats are 46%, the male Democrats were 52%, and the women 43%. So it's pretty evenly split,
Okay.
which is surprising because normally you would think that,
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
right?
Yeah. So 52% of men prefer Romney, and 55% of women prefer Barack Obama. So interesting. We'll have to see if who turns out more, and if the women seem to prefer Barack Obama by a little bit there. And again, these are polls, which they do help us to give us sort of a direction as far as where we might go.
Nothing concrete.
But it's nothing concrete. It's certainly nothing concrete. So at this point, by the way, an update on the popular vote. Mitt Romney does lead Barack Obama 51% to 48% in the popular vote. Mitt Romney having 2,235,000 votes to Barack Obama's 2,081,000 votes. So an update on the popular vote there. To be expected at this point, a lot of the places where polls have closed are states that we knew would go for Mitt Romney. What have we got going on in Virginia, Carolyn?
Well, Virginia's still coming in, about 4% of the votes in right now, but the state's leaning 60% Mitt Romney, 40% approximately Barack Obama, with the third place candidate taking 1% of the vote. Right now, though, it's looking like Virginia might go for Romney, but it's anyone's game at this point because Virginia's such a swing state.
Right. Interesting. And again, we're going to keep you guys updated throughout the night. Let's talk about some of the other swing states we're looking at tonight. To start with Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin is considered by many to be a battleground state. It went for Barack Obama in 2008. Polls thus far do show Barack Obama leading, and the Obama camp has stated that they are very confident that he will win in Wisconsin. However, vice presidential candidate Paul Ryan is from Wisconsin. Then what if you guys think that will sway voters there?
Well, it'll either be really positive for the Romney-Ryan camp or very negative, depending on the people's perception of Paul Ryan as a leader.
Yeah, and he is very popular in his district, but it's unclear as to his popularity statewide. I'm going to give you a look at some of the polls leading up to Election Day. Marquette University had Obama up 8 in Wisconsin. The NBC poll had Obama up 3. Rasmussen poll had it as a tie. We Ask America poll had Obama up 7, and a PPP poll had Obama up by 3.
I think it's interesting because let's not forget what happened with Scott Walker and the unions, right? For collective bargaining. Like I hope that, well, you would think that maybe that resonated with more of the Democratic voters because Scott Walker was such a staunch conservative. So maybe I hope maybe that will sway.
But voters did reelect, or well, not reelect, but
They didn't,
stay
right.
in power.
That
there.
is true. Yes.
So that would be interesting if after that happening to then support President Obama in the state. But you're right; it could galvanize Democratic voters to get out there and vote for the presidential candidate, and maybe when they didn't vote in the recall election there. Let's talk about Iowa. President Obama finished up his campaign in Iowa, made his last campaign speech of his career in Iowa. Iowa is another swing state, another one that Obama has led, as according to polls, but again by a thin margin. So what do you guys have on Iowa? I have right here some of the past polls. A Des Moines Register poll had Obama up 5. An ARG poll had Mitt Romney up by 1. And a PPP poll had President Barack Obama up by 2. And those are the most recent polls coming out of Iowa. The Real Clear Politics average on that state, by the way, is Obama up by 2.4. And it seems like with all these states, the more turnout, the better it is for Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
The lower the turnout, obviously the better for Mitt Romney.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of the supporters of Mitt Romney are considered, more of them are considered to be likely voters than a lot of supporters for Barack Obama. He does have a large swath of low income, of our age, which are, we do have the lowest turnout of any age group. And so getting these people to turn out has really been, I think, the Obama campaign's focus. Now that being said, in states like Ohio, the Obama campaign has a much better ground game than the Romney campaign. Far more local campaign offices than the Romney campaign. And at this point, we still nothing else yet has been called. Again, the states that are still polls are closed in, but we have not heard from yet are Ohio, New Hampshire, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Yeah, Wisconsin and Iowa have just closed, as have Colorado and Nevada. We're starting to see a lot of places where polls have just recently closed throughout the U.S. Let's see here. Excuse me. Sorry. Those polls have not closed yet. Those polls will be closing later on, around 9 o'clock or later. So at this point, we're still waiting on New Hampshire, Ohio, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Florida at this point, 35% of the vote is in from Florida. Barack Obama leads Mitt Romney 52% to 48%. Obviously, watching Florida closely contains a lot of electoral votes and has been a swing state in past elections. Was predicted to go to Mitt Romney, but at this point, again, President Barack Obama does lead by 4 points. We're going to take another break. We'll be right back with more analysis and more news as elections are called. Again, New York's polls close at 9 p.m. Please, if you have not voted at this point, go to your local polling place and cast your ballot. You're watching The Third Degree here on GSTV. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to the Third Degree. We are back here reporting on election 2012 presidential election. At this point, we do have Fox News reporting that Mitt Romney will take the state of Georgia. That's Mitt Romney will take the state of Georgia. At this point, only 3% of the vote in Georgia. Romney is ahead 67% to President Obama's 32%. But once again, Fox News giving Georgia to Mitt Romney. At this point, we don't have anything to suggest that anyone else has called that state. MSNBC did just call it? Okay. MSNBC has also just called Mitt Romney for Georgia. So Georgia will go to Mitt Romney. Again, that brings, as you see on our ticker down there, Mitt Romney's total of 49 electoral votes to President Obama's 3 electoral votes, all coming from Vermont. But again, still no surprises. We're still seeing exactly what we would have expected. Another interesting thing, CNN has released an exit poll in Ohio, which put Barack Obama ahead by 3 points. And that is in addition to, as we said, CNN obtained a record of the Romney camp's internal polls in Ohio, which put Barack Obama ahead by 5 points, and that was a Romney camp internal poll. The Obama camp must be cautiously optimistic about Ohio. And again, no Republican has won the White House without taking Ohio in recent memory. And it goes back until we can find the last Republican who won the White House without Ohio. So if Mitt Romney loses Ohio, huge blow to his campaign and to his candidacy for the presidency. But let's shift back over to Virginia. We've got there. Carolyn, you want to tell us about them?
Yeah, Virginia, we still see the about 60-40 lead that Mitt Romney's been maintaining. But the thing is, the parts of Virginia that have rang in already are the more rural areas. So we have Arlington and Richmond, which have still yet to be confirmed for either candidate. And since Arlington is close to D.C. and it's more Minneapolis-based area of Virginia, we're still really waiting for more of those votes to come in. Those will likely be Democratic. But mostly we're just still waiting on Virginia and everything's the same.
All right. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So we'll be watching, again, Virginia and Ohio very closely. But once again, Georgia has gone to Mitt Romney, for those of you who missed it. That has been called by multiple sources. Florida, we still see votes coming in. With 41% of Florida reporting, Barack Obama does still maintain a lead, a small lead, but a lead at 51 to 48% in Florida. Now, Florida, again, the recent polls had put Mitt Romney up by 2 or 3 points in Florida. But interestingly enough, Barack Obama leads with almost half of precincts reporting in Florida. Polls are at this 8 o'clock hour now closed in Alaska, Connecticut, Delaware, Washington, D.C., Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Tennessee. So we will start getting numbers in there, and we've already begun. Lots of states called at this point, at this 8 o'clock hour. We're going to be reporting them all to you. Again, lots of states have just closed their polls, and many of them have already been called, and that will give Barack Obama his first lead of the night electorally. At this point, Maine has been called for Barack Obama. Vermont, again, already called for Barack Obama. Massachusetts has been called for President Obama. Connecticut has been called for President Obama. Washington, D.C., Delaware, Washington, D.C. has been called for Barack Obama. Delaware has been called for Barack Obama. Maryland has been called for Barack Obama. Illinois has been called for Barack Obama. And Oklahoma has been called for Mitt Romney. Again, no surprises in that bunch, but many, many states called as soon as the polls closed, and many of them for President Barack Obama. bringing his total electorally up to 64 electoral votes, and Mitt Romney's total up to 40 electoral votes. That is the new total according to CNN. So all these places have been called again by CNN, and Barack Obama now leads 64 electoral votes to 40 electoral votes.
Fox News is called Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi for Mitt Romney,
Okay.
bringing the total now to 79-71 Barack Obama and Mitt Romney.
Okay. So Fox News calling a little bit faster than most other news organizations. We're still waiting on confirmation on those results, but at this time, again, a lot of states have closed, and a lot of polls being called for the president. Fox News, again, has it at Barack Obama 79 electoral votes, Mitt Romney 71. CNN is a little more hesitant, has it right now at Barack Obama 64 electoral votes and Mitt Romney 40. What are we seeing in Ohio, Amanda?
Ohio, we have 7% of creeping in. So we have 62% for Obama, 37% for Mitt Romney. It's only 7%, but a lot more than we saw a couple minutes ago.
Right.
So things seem to be shaping up for Obama.
So a wide margin so far in Ohio, again, very early. But as we stated before, CNN's exit poll had Barack Obama up by 3. Polls leading up to the election had Barack Obama leading in the state. And internal polls uncovered by CNN had Barack Obama up by 5. That was a Romney camp poll that had that. So things looking up in Ohio for the Obama campaign. We're going to have more coverage of this election for you in just a moment. We'll be going away just for a minute or two, and we'll be right back with the Third Degree here on GSTV4. Yep.
Ooh, 8%.
Welcome back to the Third Degree here on GSTV. We have all your election coverage. As you can see on our ticker on the bottom, at this point, the Fox News, as far as the way we're judging the electoral votes, as soon as they are called by a news source, that is what is going down there at the bottom. So at this point, we have Barack Obama with 79 electoral votes to Mitt Romney's 71. Once again, CNN right now has vastly different numbers. Some of those states that they have not called as of yet. Their numbers state Barack Obama with 64 electoral votes and Mitt Romney with 40. But again, a lot of states called very, very quickly as the polls closed there at 8 o'clock. We are, again, looking at some swing states whose polls have closed, including Pennsylvania, Ohio, Virginia, and Florida, and we're starting to see some numbers there. Nate Silver at 538, which is a New York Times blog. Nate Silver's a pollster there, has stated that his exit polls, swing state exit polls, these are polls just in the swing states, do show a party ID edge for Democrats. What that means is more people in those states identify themselves as Democrats than as Republicans. Could be good news for the Obama camp. Let's look a little more in depth at what is happening in some of these swing states. Amanda, you have an update for us on Ohio.
Ohio, yes, sir. Well, currently there is 9% now of the votes in, the precincts in, and Obama is still leading 59 to 40. Popular vote 297,000 to 203,000 roughly. But I think it is interesting because I think it's coming in a little slower because of the allegations that are going on about Romney own voting booths and software that is leading to allegations of voter fraud, basically. And so both camps have their lawyers on that. So I think that's why
we're starting to see
yeah,
a little bit slower.
a little slow.
Yep. And we'll again keep you updated on that race as they come in. But where our numbers are not coming in slowly is in Florida. That race, 43% of precincts are reporting, and the race has begun to tighten. This is more the sort of race we were expecting out of Florida. We knew the numbers would tighten. We knew that President Obama would not have that lead for very long, and we were right at this point. Barack Obama with 50% of the votes, and Governor Mitt Romney with 49% of the votes. So really starting to tighten in Florida. Going to be really interesting to see how that turns out. Carolyn, you've been watching Virginia for us. Give us an update on Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia's still at the same 60-40 that it's been for a while, with about 13% of the votes in. And MSNBC just called Tennessee for Mitt Romney, changing the count to 82-64 by their measure.
Okay. So Tennessee has been called for Mitt Romney by MSNBC. CNN has just projected that Mitt Romney will win Oklahoma. That was already projected by some other news organizations earlier in the night, but CNN has confirmed it. In addition, the popular vote, we want to keep you updated on that. At this point, Mitt Romney leads the popular vote, 51% to President Obama's 48%. Mitt Romney taking in 4,246,000 votes to President Obama's 3,937,000 votes. So a lot of very interesting things going on here. We are getting word from MSNBC that Florida's polls are closed, but thousands of voters remain in line. What this means is, if you're in line before the polls close, they cannot deny you the ability to cast your vote. So anyone who is in line when polls close will be allowed to vote. They will turn away anyone who tries to join that line after polls have closed, but if you were in line when polls close, you are allowed to vote. So interesting, in Florida, there are people still voting because of that rule, even as we're starting to get numbers in from Florida. Interesting, and hopefully those people will stick around. I know there have been reported as long lines in Florida to vote. Hopefully those people will stick around to cast their votes, but that could shift things there. And especially with numbers already starting to come in Florida, there's a question as to whether or not that will sway those late voters' votes, since there is still voting going on. So we'll be following that throughout the night as well. NBC and Fox News have both reported Mitt Romney will win Tennessee and Alabama. That was called originally by Fox News. Now NBC is confirming that as well. So still no surprises as far as the electoral map goes. It has stayed roughly the same as 2008 with the exception of Indiana at this point. However, we knew beforehand that that was going to be the case, that Indiana was going to flip over to Governor Mitt Romney. Another interesting thing, guys, MSNBC is now reporting that Virginia's polls may have closed an hour ago, but the results have been put on hold. They're stopping the reporting of results at this time. We're not sure exactly why at this point, but I can tell you that the results in Virginia have been put on hold. We'll find out more information for you and get it to you once we have it. Very interesting development in Virginia. You have to wonder whether it's related to some of these voter fraud allegations that we talked about in Ohio. If whether or not there was something happening in Virginia as well that's caused this hold.
It's funny. I didn't foresee this problem. I don't know if it just slipped my mind, but I didn't expect for the Romney campaign to pull this. I mean, again, there's no clear report that it is, that it's happening, but it seems that it is, and it's just a little surprising. I don't know.
Well, we have seen this in past elections, maybe not as overtly as we were seeing it this year. There were attempts by some Republican governors in some of these states to try to limit and try to limit how many people were allowed to vote. Try to increase the qualifications require ID to vote, things like that. Supposedly to combat voter fraud, which has not been a big issue.
Up until now.
And up until now. So very interesting. We'll have to see if the problems in Virginia are related to that, and we will let you know as soon as we know. NBC News, in an interesting move, has pulled their call for Missouri. They are now saying Missouri is too close to call instead of a Romney state. Very interesting. Missouri, at this point, with 1% of precincts reporting, Mitt Romney does lead 70 to 29%. Very early, of course, only 1% in, but Missouri was supposed to go pretty solidly Romney. So it's interesting. I wonder if it's just them being cautious at NBC News, or if it's something else. It's also taking a little while longer than expected for states like North Carolina to be called, which is very interesting given the fact that, according to polls, Romney had big leads there. So at this point, some good signs, I would say, for the Obama camp. Would you guys agree on that?
I would. I would say that it's looking pretty good for the Obama camp so far, but North Carolina was, CNN was unsure if it was really going to go Romney since it went for Obama last election. But I'm really concerned that Missouri isn't overtly Romney because that was very much expected to go for him. So that's a cause for concern. And the last 3 elections, it has gone Republican.
Yeah, very interesting that NBC would revoke a call after already calling it. That's very rare that happens. They must have seen something in those numbers to revoke that call. Now, maybe they're just being overly cautious. We'll have to wait and see. But at this point, Missouri remains uncalled. CNN has confirmed, by the way, that Romney will win Georgia. We knew that before as well.
I also have on MSNBC currently, Romney is now pulled ahead in Florida, 51% to 48%.
Very interesting. Yes, and CNN is confirming that. Mitt Romney now with the lead in Florida with 56% of precincts reporting, over half of precincts reporting. Mitt Romney is pulled ahead in Florida, 51% to 48%. Very interesting.
And currently in Ohio, 13% is now in. Obama still leading 57 to 42%.
In Ohio?
Yes,
Okay.
with 13%
With 13% in, so a large lead. That lead, we do expect that lead to dwindle. We don't expect it to be a runaway state for Barack Obama. But as we said before, exit polls showing good signs for the Obama camp in Ohio. In Florida, Mitt Romney was ahead according to polls.
Yes,
and now it looks like he has pulled ahead as far as votes go. At this point, to update everyone on the popular vote, Mitt Romney is ahead 52% to 47% in the popular vote. But again, that's just counting what has been counted in these states that have reported and however much they've reported at this time. So that's a very preliminary number as well. We expect that to tighten as well. Bill Nelson, who is a Democratic senator in Florida, has won his Senate seat. He has won a third term for that Senate seat over Republican Connie Mack. There was some concern as to whether or not, as far as Democrats go, as to whether or not Mr. Nelson would hold on to that seat. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Bill Nelson will hold on to that seat in Florida. So a big victory for the Democrats in Florida.
Also, I'm just getting in from MSNBC, the Senate race in Massachusetts between Elizabeth Warren and Scott Brown. Warren is currently ahead 62% to a 38%. I know this was a pretty controversial race, so we wanted to keep our eye on, and right now it seems that Warren is leading.
Very, very preliminary at this point,
Yeah.
but very interesting.
Yeah, only
Warren
1%
did
vote.
pull ahead towards the end, as we got closer to Election Day. Warren did pull ahead of Scott Brown. And interesting that our first numbers coming out of Ohio, as far as that goes, are for Warren. We'll have to see if she can upset the incumbent in that seat. The Nate Silver of the 538 blog is telling viewers to keep an eye on Chesterfield County, Virginia. That was a very recent tweet by Nate Silver. And the reason for that is, let me find that for a second. At this point, it's an important suburban and exurban region southwest of Richmond. And the tally so far in that area, Mitt Romney leads President Obama 54% to 45%. If those percentages hold, Mr. Romney's performance there would match exactly Senator John McCain's margin of victory in Chesterfield County in 2008. However, to give you a comparison, former President George W. Bush, when he carried Virginia in 2004, won 63% of the vote in Chesterfield County. So those are certainly not good numbers coming out of Chesterfield County for the Romney campaign. They needed to win big among the suburban crowd, among white male voters, and that does not appear to be happening in Virginia. And in Ohio, we're receiving reports from MSNBC that President Obama is doing significantly better with white working class voters in Ohio than he is with that group nationwide. So in Ohio, white working class voters going far more for Obama than nationwide.
We have some stuff coming out of BBC News right now.
Sure.
Apparently, the reporters that are at the Romney headquarters are saying that the Florida exit polls are really bad news for the Republicans. It's kind of unsure what that means since it was just a really quick tweet, but apparently it's not looking so hot.
Very interesting. So some concern in the Romney camp over Florida, over the exit polls coming out of Florida. Now you expect with that type of report that that could mean something about turnout for Romney supporters. Because again, he was ahead as far as polls go.
Right.
So exit polls are when people leave the polling station. That would be where the exit comes in. So it's when people leave the polling station.
Just quick thing on MSNBC, Obama has now flip-flopped, 50% Obama and now 49% Romney.
In Florida.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. And 57% are in there. So these exit polls are only of people who have actually voted. So we may see that even though Romney may have been leading the state among registered voters, some of these supporters did not turn out for Romney if BBC is correct in what they're saying, which is very, very interesting. We do know Mitt Romney had some issues galvanizing the Republican Party, getting them to be enthusiastically behind him, and maybe we're seeing some blowback from that in Florida. Very interesting. We'll have to watch that race as it develops in Florida, and of course in Ohio and Virginia. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with some of our final analysis and reports from the election. You're watching The Third Degree here on GSTV4. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back.
Woo!
All right, we're back here on the Third Degree on GSTV, going into our final 5 minutes of this program. Thanks for all who are watching. Again, giving you the latest news as far as the election goes. At this point, a lot of positive signs for the Obama campaign. In Florida, the BBC is reporting that exit polls do not look good for the Romney campaign. Exit polls in Ohio show Obama with a lead. Virginia appears to be too close to call. But a lot of states that should have gone solidly Romney have still not been called. Missouri, in particular, NBC revoked its designation of it being a Romney state, interestingly enough. So we may be seeing some closer races in states, which is in states that Romney should have won, which is a big plus for the Obama campaign. In addition, we are still receiving reports that in Florida, there are still people in line to vote. Those people were in line when polls closed in Florida, which means they still are allowed to vote in Florida. The Obama campaign has been actively trying to keep them in line. And they have been tweeting on Twitter about making sure that people stay in line in Florida. Because again, for the Obama campaign, the more people that turn out, the better for President Obama, especially now that we've heard about these exit polls from the BBC, which apparently do not look good for Mitt Romney. So as we close here tonight, things looking good for the Obama campaign. Of course, it's certainly not over yet. Too close to call in Virginia, too close to call right now in Ohio, too close to call right now in Florida. Pennsylvania still has not been called, even though polls have closed there. So still a lot of game to be played at this point.
Yes, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good election.
So let's update our viewers for one last time here on some of the important states. Amanda, what have you got on Ohio for us?
Ohio, we now have 20% of the vote in, and it is looking that Obama is in the lead, 59% to 40%. And yeah, yes, we have about 683,000 to 469,000. So Obama seems to be doing well in Ohio.
And let's turn over to Carolyn. What are we looking at in Virginia?
Well, with 22% of the vote in, we have 57 Romney, 42 Barack Obama, with Romney keeping about the same lead he's been having all night in Virginia. So with most of Virginia, the Virginia counties at least starting to weigh in, we see that it looks like Mitt Romney's going to win it.
Okay, interesting. So Virginia, again, still early, 22% in. We may be seeing some of the rural counties reporting, but Mitt Romney is ahead by a significant margin there. As far as Florida goes, we've got our latest update. Amanda.
Just literally 3 seconds ago on MSNBC, 50% Mitt Romney, 49% Obama. So I don't think we're really going to know until all the votes are counted, especially with everyone waiting in line.
Right. Makes sense. So a lot of close races, something to keep an eye on for the rest of the night.
Sounds like a good night.
It's gonna be a good night for politics. A lot of very interesting races shaping up at this point in a lot of these swing states. You should keep your eyes on it at this time. According to according to all the states that have been called by any news agency at this point, and a lot of them, again, Fox News seems to be calling a lot quicker than a lot of other news agencies. So I want to caution people about these numbers at the bottom of our screen. But at this point, we have Mitt Romney at 82 electoral votes, Barack Obama at 78 electoral votes. Still no big surprises, though, out of any states. I think we're going to have to wait till the swing states come in for any surprises to happen as far as that goes. And as far as the popular vote, Mitt Romney does lead 52% to 47% at this time, although we expect that to tighten and possibly flip throughout the night. Thanks again, everyone who watched. Thank you, Carolyn and Amanda, for being here with us.
Yeah.
Thank you to all our sources here, CNN, NBC, BBC, Fox News, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. Keep an eye on this election. Make sure to go vote if you haven't yet. Polls close in New York at 9. Again, thanks for watching. This has been the Third Degree here on GSTV. Good night.